circular economy. Next, we have Sharon Ross from Western Riverside Waste Authority and Graham Parry from Groundwork London to talk about a local project, Rework, which is using circular economy approaches to the reuse of electrical equipment, furniture, and also other things. And finally, we have Professor Sharon Bowley from Royal College of Art to talk about the pioneering work they are doing at the Materials Science Research Centre. And after that, we're going to have a question answer session. So first of all, some housekeeping. So please, could you keep yourselves muted throughout unless you're asking a question at the end. And this helps very much with background noise. And then also, if you could turn your camera off unless you're speaking, that will help as well. So when it comes to the question and answer session, please use the raise hand function in Teams. So you can see a little hand. If you click that, then I'll call on you. And you can also add questions in the chat function throughout. That's, if you can ask questions throughout, add those in as we go along, and then we can pick those up straight away when we hit the question and answer session. So first of all, I'd like to welcome Doug Simpson and Ali Moore from LWARB. Over to you, Doug.
Okay, thanks, Andrew, and good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be online with you this morning. I'm just going to share my screen now. Is that popped up? Andrew can give me a nod, or otherwise. Is that sharing now, Andrew?
No. Oh yes, there's something coming up. Yeah, okay. There we are.
Okay, so I've been given the luxury of trying to explain circular economy in under 10 minutes, so I'm going to give that a good go. But I think the first thing to point out is this is something that has been around for quite a long time and been sort of coined various different phrases. Sustainable development could be one way of looking at this. But before I get onto that, just a quick introduction to who we are, the London Waste and Recycling Board. We're established in 2008, and we're effectively a partnership that sits between the Mayor of London and London's 33 local authorities. And our remit really in the beginning, in the early stages in particular, was around helping local authorities and their residents to reduce waste and increase recycling, really get London's recycling rate up from about 33% today, aiming to be around 50% by 2025. So huge ambition there, and over time our WARB's remit has extended, if you like, to include more around how to accelerate London to a more circular economy, and the idea being that we're doing things in a more restorative and regenerative way. So we're sort of bringing back the traditional models that I'm sure a lot of people's parents and grandparents used to use around creating a reuse and repair culture, really thinking about how we design things in a better way that they can be more easily reused, recycled, repaired, even remanufactured, as a way to moving away from the sort of single-use disposal economy, which has really embraced us, particularly over the last 20 or so years. And very closely tied to that is the need to reduce what we call consumption-based emissions. So these are around the emissions associated with our consumption habits. Every time we buy something, whether it be a house or an eating product or a toy, whatever it might be, there's emissions associated with the production, manufacturing, distribution, and consumption of that product. So really, it's about how do we use our everyday behaviours to think more differently about how we consume things and reduce the environmental impact. And the circular economy, in terms of that phrasing, it really came about and around about 2014 when Dame Ellen MacArthur founded the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and really put a core focus that this is not just an environmental movement. There are some sound economic principles and benefits that can be had by moving to this more sort of restorative economy, where we're thinking more carefully about the design of products, our consumption habits, and trying to reduce the overall amount of waste that we're producing, and trying to embed those habits and that culture change into everything we do, if you like. So associated with that is these sort of 5 business models that we're trying to promote the scale up and adoption of at a real global level, and I'll talk about those shortly. And what's really encouraging to see is that a lot of these things are already happening. So there's nothing really new in terms of the mindset. It's just about trying to scale these up at a huge global scale, so we get that fundamental systems change, if you like, in the way that we consume products and ideally reduce waste. And as I said, a large driver of this is around sort of the climate emergency or climate crisis, depending on your point of view on the day. And what this chart shows, I won't go into detail, but it's essentially, I'll just put that on big screen actually. It's essentially that over half our emissions, this chart on the left, the grey and the dark grey one, around 45% of the emissions that are produced could be reduced, that are produced could be reduced if we move to a more circular economy whereby we've got high rates of reuse and waste reduction, and we're thinking very carefully about how we design products so at their end of life they can either be very easily reused but also easily recycled and put back into the marketplace. They're not just sort of going into the landfill or incineration. So again, nothing really new here in terms of concept, but I think we're sort of starting to really quantify the impact and the benefits of moving to a more circular economy. And the bubble charts on the right are really sort of an explanation of our sort of consumption-based emissions. London especially is it doesn't produce a lot of stuff, if you like, because we've obviously lost a lot of our manufacturing to either other parts of the city or other parts of the world. But we're very much a service-based economy, and we consume lots of stuff, if you like. So whilst we might not be directly producing emissions, we are in fact responsible for anything that we import into the country whereby emissions have been produced. So really trying to sort of work with our supply chains to try to reduce the amount of emissions associated with our consumption and our purchasing and procurement habits. So that's very much a snapshot. And then just trying to explain the circular economy. I mean, the way it's really important to simplify this, because there are various different ways you can interpret this. But a simple way for me that I found quite helpful is that when you think about a utopian sort of circular economy world is one whereby you can imagine not actually owning anything. So just sort of put that into your mindset. The idea that you're buying things, you're either leasing things or you're buying things that then can be put back out into market, and we're doing that a lot already. We use eBay, we use Gumtree, we lease products, and just try to imagine if you could actually apply that to nearly everything that you do, whether it be from the car that you lease, maybe to washing machines that you lease. And that's sort of a way that you start to understand that it's not about buying products, but you're trying to get access to those products and you're paying for the access, and so you're not having to sort of be responsible for disposing of that product or asset at the end of its life. So that's sort of a concept that I find quite helpful, and this diagram is trying to show the difference between what we do now, the linear economy, very much a make, take and dispose economy, and sort of moving away from that, we've sort of got better at, if you like, calling the recycling economy, whereby, yes, we're producing things and we try to recycle as much as we can, but in the end, those materials may not be sort of kept at their highest value, if you like. So they get recycled or they might get downcycled. So, for example, recycling glass may get put into sort of concrete products, which is not as good environmentally as, say, putting back into bottles. So whereby a circular economy is that you're really keeping products at their highest value in the economy for as long as possible, and that's why I'm trying to sort of really try and rejuvenate this repair and reuse culture. That especially from the manufacturing scale side of things, if you can prepare and design something in a way that can be easily reused and repaired, then you're really promoting the circular economy and allowing that to happen at scale. And I think the big opportunity for London and other big cities is that they are a huge, if you like, engine room of the circular economy. As I say, we consume a lot of products, a lot of things, a lot of assets, and if we can think a bit carefully and a bit differently about how we do that, both at the citizen level but also at the sort of macro scale in terms of like things that we procure, local authorities procuring new products or building new town centres, how can they apply, if you like, circular economy principles and business models to make those assets more sustainable and allow sort of the supply chains to sort of come with them in order to promote more sort of products and services developed by small businesses in particular that make the circular economy more likely to happen, if you like. And so the way that we're trying to do this with the London Waste Recycling Board, we're trying to ideally sort of scale up these sort of 5 sort of core business models in everyday life. And my colleague Ali Moore will talk more about what's happening on the ground and what citizens can do. But essentially, if you think about it, one of the main business model, which is already we're seeing happening a lot, the idea of seeing products as services. So we're selling access to a service as opposed to a product. The idea being that you're leasing that, so you're having access to that service. So a good example is leasing cars. We do that already. We lease photocopiers, so you're buying access to that product, if you like, and not having to worry about the disposal of it at the end of its life. The sharing economy, again, it's in full swing. I think a great example is Airbnb. It's developed the largest real estate company in the world without building a single home. So it's really the idea of like using that sort of idle capacity, if you like, in the system, sharing assets that are already in place. And we see that with office space sharing as well, and Zipcar and the likes of that. Prolonging product life, again, not a new one, but it's trying to get this done at scale. Through maintenance, design for durability, really getting good design standards into products. And we're seeing a lot of action from government now, put in higher design standards and requirements on manufacturers to make sure things can be designed for easy reuse and repair and recyclability. Switching to renewable inputs, again, we're seeing that a lot already. It might be you switching to a renewable energy provider to 100% renewable energy. You could also argue that switching to a plant-based diet is very much a renewable input model of way of living of life. And then finally, and this is sort of thing, after you've exhausted all those sort of four business models and approaches, you recover value for what's left over. So this is where the idea of really effective recycling and composting comes in. So you've done what you can with the absolute most of your consumption and use of products, and then you look to recycle and compost those. And I think if there's any one takeaway I can give to people on this call is to think about what you're doing in your everyday life. I'm sure you're applying one or more of these in your everyday life, but to think more about what other part of your consumption pattern could you apply one or more of these business models and try and make that more of a reality. And you'll by doing so, you'll be definitely playing your part in helping London to accelerate to a more circular economy, reduce waste, reduce emissions, and bring a lot more sort of materials innovation design, if you like, around how we designed our consumption habits. Finally, just a bit about what our org does. We're trying to basically say really boost the uptake of those business models. We have a lot of different functions. We work with a lot of different audiences, local authorities, government departments, corporate, small businesses. We have to run pilots and demonstrators to show what circular economy looks like in practice, and that involves, for example, working with a lot of businesses. We have like these matchmaking sort of speed dating activities where we try to connect small businesses that are developing innovative products and services in the sort of circular economy space with other businesses that want to get them in their supply chain, so they can show how they're sort of greening, if you like, their activities. We work with London Government, the Greater London Authority, and national government to try and design policy and get the right evidence base to inform policy, to create the right conditions, the policy framework for the circular economy to thrive. We do a lot of borough support, which my colleague Ali will talk about shortly, around helping local authorities to provide good recycling services and to communicate those effectively to residents, and also behaviour change. It's a huge element of it, giving people the tools and activities and ways that they can change their behaviour in a positive way and in a meaningful way as part of their everyday life activities. But I'll pause there, and I'll hand back to Andrew and to Ali to take you through that journey further. Thank you.
Great, thanks very much, Doug. I'm Ali. I work with Doug at the London Waste and Recycling Board, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what we as ordinary people can do. So circular economy obviously is something that a lot of people associate with businesses as being responsible for delivering, and as governments being responsible for creating the policy and the laws to make it happen. So in France, for instance, the French government does an awful lot to force businesses there to do things like reuse and take back materials at the end of their life, and to not produce things out of disposable, single-use disposable plastics, etc. But there are things that we can all do on an everyday basis, and a lot of the work that I do with my team is to communicate some of those things to residents right across London. So the very first thing, obviously, is to recycle. Doug talked about one of the things in circular economy being about taking materials that people have finished with, recycling them and using them as renewable inputs into new products and services. So we run a campaign called London Recycles, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen. You'll recognise the green logo there up on the left. And we have recently completed a 3-year campaign as part of that called One Bin is Rubbish, encouraging people to get a second bin for recycling at home if they haven't got one already. Because obviously if you haven't got the tools in place to recycle, if you haven't got a second bin to put recyclable stuff into, then you're not going to recycle. You're going to put everything into one bin, and then we're not going to get that renewable material to feed back into products and services later on. If you click through, Andrew. So we've created quite a few materials over the years, including bits of video content like the one on the left, and the one on the right I'm going to be quiet for because there's some sound. with this one. Andrew, I can't seem to hear the sound on that.
Just a moment, I will reshare that so that it's working properly.
Thank you. So as London Recycles, we create lots and lots of content like this all of the time to communicate with people about recycling, how to do it, and what can and can't be recycled. Let's see if it works this time.
Here you go.
There we go.
Hold it.
Thank you.
Good boy. Get in the bucket. Hold bucket. Hold it. Good boy. Very good. In the bucket. Stay. Good boy. Circle, circle, circle. Here you go. And hold it. Good boy.
Thank you very much. And then some of the other things that we produce, very simple yes, no materials to tell people what can and can't be recycled. We've had campaigns around wet wipes, a lot of information about plastics over the past couple of years as plastics have become a bigger issue for all of us and for the planet. Yeah, if we go on to the next slide. So a quick warning here, the sound is very loud on this. So if you would like to just put your fingers in the ears, if you're sensitive to loud noise. Thanks, Andrew. So all of those materials, and this is a question pop up in the chat about how we support boroughs. So all of those materials that we create, we make available for free to councils to use. We have all those toolkits available as downloadable assets, but we also work directly with boroughs to help them with simple service communications around food waste recycling and around normal dry recycling. So this is a little bit about some of our waste reduction campaigns as well. So recycling is obviously the minimum, but reducing the amount of waste that we create at home is also something that we can all do. Particularly with food, we find it's one of the best things to do in those boroughs where they don't provide a food waste recycling service, which is very few nowadays. So most London boroughs do provide a food waste recycling collection, but where they don't, then food waste prevention at home is a very, very positive thing that we can all do, and look out for content on social media and elsewhere. So this is a part of our Small Change Big Difference campaign that we ran as part of a bigger EU campaign for 2.5 years, and there's some great content there which is all available for boroughs to use, but we still push some of this out sometimes through our London Recycles campaigns. So Doug talked about designing for durability as one of the circular economy business models. So making things last longer is the bottom line here. And so when we talk to Londoners about simple things that we can all do, we tend to focus on repair at the moment. So we try and tackle one behaviour at a time and not make it too complicated. So we recently ran our first ever London Repair Week in October, which was very successful and had lots and lots of people involved with it, lots of partners getting involved and lots of engagement on social media, and we got some coverage on BBC News about it. So there's obviously a real sense in the air at the moment, I think, that people are more interested in looking after their things, their stuff, and we've seen a surge in interest in repair in particular. And then one of the other areas that we're looking at more and more from our organisation is the area around swapping and reusing and renting stuff. So Doug, not owning things anymore, or owning things kind of collaboratively in a way. And what the campaign that we do this most with is our Love Not Landfill campaign, which is about fashion behaviours. We do a whole host of things through Love Not Landfill. We run, obviously not at the moment in times like this, but in the normal run of things, we run pop-up shops to promote second-hand shopping so that people are not buying new, they're buying second-hand, and they're making things last longer that way. And we're encouraging reuse and sharing as well. So we run clothing swaps, and we collect clothes as well through our branded Love Not Landfill clothes banks, one of which you can see on the screen here. And just a really quick video of one of our pop-up shops, our charity pop-up shops from last year before we went into lockdown, which I'm sad that we can't do any more of at the moment. So we really promote secondhand clothes shopping. We work with a lot of different charities on this kind of thing, not just doing the pop-up shops, but all year round on social media and through other campaigns and activities, and collaborate with 9 or 10 different charities in London on a regular basis to try and get people buying more secondhand instead of new. And then the final slide that we have is an initiative that we're running at the moment. Because obviously we can't run clothes swaps in person, we are having a bit of an experiment with the North London Waste Authority in 7 North London boroughs to run online clothes swaps, and this is enabled by a small business called We Are New, or New Wardrobe, and they run an online clothes swapping app, which ordinarily costs, I think, £7.99 a month. Where you can just swap clothes with others and send them to them, or in better times, in safer times, meet them in person to swap your clothes. And we're trying to work out how to do this online in a very sort of regionally specific way at the moment with North London. We just ran our second swap last night. So yeah, we're looking forward to seeing the results of that and encouraging people to swap more things. The one thing we haven't done is encourage people to rent clothes so far, but I think that that's going to be next on our list. Because the products as services is one of the models that Doug talked about as part of the circular economy, and renting clothes is very much part of that. So we do work with businesses who are in the clothes rental business. So that will be one of the next things that we'll think about in terms of campaigning and communicating to Londoners about. So that's it from me. Thank you very much, Andrew, for running the presentation.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And over to Sharon and Graham. So Sharon's from Western Riverside Waste Authority and Graham is from Groundwork London. So over to you.
Hi. Sorry, I'll just wait for the slide to come up. Okay, Graham. I think, Ali, you need to take yours down.
Andrew is
okay,
running mine.
Yeah, it's come down now. That should work.
Okay, well, I'll introduce myself. I'm the Deputy General Manager for Western Riverside Waste Authority, and we work with Rework. We have been for some 8 years. Rework is a reuse workshop based at Smugglers Way, and they repair hundreds of tons of domestic appliances every year. We've worked with them, as I say, in partnership, and we support them by providing rent-free workshops and space at the transfer station in Smugglers Way. And we also promote rework through social media and on our website. I'm going to pass you over to Graham.
Thank you, Sharon.
Who did most of the presentation.
I can see my presentation. Can you see it, Sharon?
I can now.
Great. Okay, work. Thank you. My name is Graham Parry. I'm the Director of Youth Employment Skills at Groundwork London. And as Sharon said, we've been working together with WRWA to run white goods refurbishment workshop in the borough. And I think I'm really proud to be part of this. And I think it's great for the borough, actually, for us to be able to find some homegrown examples of best practice in the circular economy, and I'm really happy I can be involved in it. So we like to think of rework as 3 for the price of 1. So for every £1 we've been able to raise to set up rework, and every £1 we raise through the sales of the goods that we now sell, we're able to divert waste from the waste stream and keep it in the reuse area of the hierarchy. We're providing jobs and training for residents of Wandsworth and surrounding boroughs to come and join us in the team, and thirdly, we're providing affordable, quality domestic items for. It says for people on low incomes, but one of our aims, and I'll talk about it later, is that I think to really boost the circular economy, we need to stop it being we need to promote it from being a choice of necessity into an option and a choice that all of us want to look for first for goods. We are London's only approved reuse facility. We're set up to look at a whole variety of waste streams, and we do, but our main focus is upon what's called LDA, which is large domestic appliances and refrigeration products. So really, in kind of words that we'll all understand, we're working with microwaves upwards in size of things that you'd have in your kitchen in your household. So a whole range of electrical goods, from washing machines, washer dryers, kitchen goods like fridges, freezers, and electric cookers and dishwashers, and then also, as I say, the microwaves. We don't tend to work on small electrical goods, and we focus on these big products. But we also, as we're working on the site, we have reuse bays in the Bring site, so where the public drive into the centre, we have reuse bays that the public can choose, and we'll take a very wide variety of products there. So even though we're focused on the reprocessing of the large electrical appliances, we also accept household furniture, bric-a-brac, things like bikes, and we ensure that the max as many of those as possible go on to other reusers and stay out of the recycling or the waste stream. We are approved by the EA, so that's really important to your waste authority and to your local authority, because we can prove where everything that we have received has gone, and make sure it's all gone to approved. The stuff we can't use all goes to approved recyclers. So everything can be proved, and we like to say it's from grave to cradle, because we're actually giving new life to all our products. Alongside the items that we accept from the Bring site, we also work on what are called dealer take-back schemes. So should any of us buy a new domestic appliance, we're often offered the opportunity for the old one to be taken away. And working with a major retailer, many of those, that if they can be fixed and repaired and refurbished, will find their way into our hands. So we'll remove those from the waste stream and give them a new life. All our refurbishment follows a very, very high standard. So we are registered and annually audited to ensure that we're reaching high standards of reuse. All the appliances go through a full testing cycle, and not only are they tested, if they have parts that are worn that we can replace to increase the life of the product, we will, and they'll either be salvaged from other unuseful products, or we will buy them in. And we test our refrigeration for a period of up to 7 days, which is quite considerably longer than other reusers test their appliances for. And as a result, our returns rates are very, very low. And just to kind of back those up with confidence for the consumer, all our items are offered with a 12-month warranty. Well, 6 or up to 12 months of a warranty. Our products, obviously, from our base is on at Smugglers Way on the Bring site and the CA side, so we can't be open to the general public for sales. So the vast majority of our goods go out through 2 routes. They either go to charity shop retailers, Oxfam, Sue Ryder, and we actually deliver to them across quite a section of the country. And also we work through Emmaus's shops in across London. But we also supply into hardship schemes, and the 2 I mentioned there are Emmaus and example the Household Furniture Project. But we work with a number of RSLs as well to help housing providers provide for their vulnerable residents who be rehoused and might not have the domestic appliances or furniture. And we're always keen to work with as many local authorities as possible, and it would be great to advance this scheme to more local authorities and to continue discussions we've had with Wandsworth Council about how we can support their hardship schemes. We've kept working this year. It's been tough. We've had a number of staff who've had to self-isolate, and we have a number of vulnerable staff who haven't been able to attend. But we've kept Proactivity going, and we switched it to supporting out on COVID relief. And I think so far we've distributed well over 150 items to either individuals or organisations who are helping more vulnerable people during the COVID. And we've received corporate support for that, and we've got money still coming in, so we're still continuing to offer this referral scheme for people who need goods during this time. So, as I started the presentation with, we like to think ourselves as offering 3 to 1. So the tonnages of reuse have gone up year on year, and that's a mixture of all our products. The vast majority is white goods, and we've got better and better every year of taking waste and reusing waste from within the items that are brought to the Bring site. So year-on-year increases in the percentages of our reuse that's coming from Wandsworth and the surrounding boroughs. In terms of the jobs and training, our workforce now stands at 16, 17 people. I think it's right in saying that all but 2 of those people joined us through employment schemes and had previously been long-term unemployed, and many from Wandsworth and the rest from the surrounding boroughs. And so then we continue to, on our permanent workforce, offer wage training places throughout the year, and we cycle through those and offer people about 6 months opportunity. And in terms of offering the quality domestic items for people on low incomes, with this year we've managed to refurbish and sell about 3,000 domestic appliances and 4,500 items of furniture. On top of that, I don't have the stats, but we're something like between 80 and 200 bikes every month go across to another reuser, and large tonnage of bric-a-brac and other items that are brought through the site of other reusers that want those products, and we try to keep as much as possible in reuse and away from recycling or waste. So where next for us? It's been mentioned a couple of times in the presentation so far. I think we want to see if we can help and move up to the next level of the waste hierarchy and look into repair. We do think that we know it's often prohibitively expensive or notoriously difficult to get domestic items repaired for a whole variety of reasons, and probably more so in London because of concentrations, parking and other restrictions that make it harder for repair services to operate. We believe that because we've got a workshop full of appliances and we've got trained engineers working within London in a project site, we can probably offer a service of moving up the hierarchy to repair. It's something we'll be looking at in the next 12 months. We are looking at other areas of reuse and expanding out of domestic goods. Currently we're due on December the 7th to set up a bike refurbishment workshop with Westminster City Council and Cycle Confident, which we hope will be it will keep more of our bikes that we're getting through Western Riverside in the local area and keep them again, enhance the circular economy. And finally, probably the most exciting thing that we're looking at with a number of partners at the moment is ensuring more of the products stay in London and more of the products are available to Londoners, and looking at upping our own game in terms of reuse retail opportunities. And the picture you see there is a bit of a dream, maybe less of a pipe dream now and closer to reality with current circumstances and the availabilities of properties in London, but we really feel there's an opportunity to bring the circular economy to the high street, to make its profile far higher, and as I said at the beginning of this talk, to actually ensure that reuse is as a choice rather than necessity, and more of us are encouraged to buy reused and refurbished products than buy new. That's
fantastic. Thank you very much, Graham. That's a great overview of the work that you're doing. So thank you very much. Next up, we have Sharon from Royal College of Art. I'm just going to get up the presentation now.
Hello.
Hi, Sharon, if you just start talking, I'll bring this up now.
So, thank you very much for the invitation. So I'm Sharon Borley. I am a Professor of Design and Materials at the Royal College of Art, and the Royal College of Art is in the neighbourhood. Its main campus, or its initial campus, is in Kensington Gore, but we also have a campus on Battersea Bridge Road. So you may have noticed some construction work going on there. So that's our new Battersea South campus, and that's where our research centres will be housed, as well as a students' studio. So the Royal College of Art is a wholly postgraduate institution. We're ranked #1 university for art and design in the world. So I'm director of the Materials Science Research Centre at the Royal College of Art. Our research centre has been going only for a couple of years, but we've made pretty impressive progress so far. So what I'm going to talk about today is the Textile Circularity Centre. This is a new research funding grant that we've just won, one of 5, which has been awarded by the UK Research and Innovation Interdisciplinary Circular Economy Centres programme. That starts in January 1st and runs for 4 years. It's a £5.5 million programme for the circular economy. And just a little bit about the UK Research and Innovation. Perhaps it's not obvious what that institution is, but it's a non-departmental public body sponsored by the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, which brings together the 7 disciplinary research councils, Research England, and is responsible for supporting research and knowledge exchange at higher education institutions in England and the UK's innovation agency, Innovate UK. So next slide, please. So the Textile Circularity Centre at the RCA proposes material security for the UK by circularising resource flows of textiles. This will stimulate innovation and economic growth in the UK textile manufacturing, SME apparel and creative technology sectors, whilst reducing reliance on imported and environmentally and ethically impactful materials and diversifying supply chain. And we really want to support the brand designed and made in the UK. And to enact this vision, we will support the SME fashion apparel community with innovations in materials and product manufacturing, access to circular materials through a supply chain design, and the design of consumer experiences. So in this image, this is our system design. This is our program of research. So as you heard earlier on this morning, the underlying principle of a circular economy is to keep materials in the use loop for as long as possible to retain their value. And in order to design and build a circular economy, you have to take a systems design approach. And this is what we're intending to do through our program of research. So you can see this is our system design. We have 3 interconnected research strands. Material circularity is the green one. Supply chain design is the, could you just go back? So supply chain is the blue one, and consumer experiences is the mauve colored one. So the idea is that by taking a system design approach, we can make a connection between the waste. This is the flow of the waste that comes into the manufacturing system, and also the multiple stakeholders that are involved in the whole kind of processing of waste, manufacturing of materials, designing products, and also the consumer. And I think this is a key component of our research, is really to make the consumer an agent of change. So you can see in the supply chain, you have our flow of waste on the left. We're focusing on cellulose-based, which is a material that comes from crops, to make fibers and materials for textiles. And we design, and when we use supply chain design techniques and methods to make those materials accessible to apparel and fashion designers, and through our materials platform. And then we're designing new consumer experiences. We heard earlier about kind of new kind of services as products and different ways to think about a product, not necessarily renting or other forms of engaging with products. So the consumer comes into the retail or design space and is able to configure a product, is able to come back to upgrade or update their product, and eventually take it back to their retailer or design brand to recycle, and then the materials go back into the processing loop. Next slide, please. So this is our first research strand. So material circularity. This is led by my colleague at the RCA, Miriam Ribble, in collaboration with the University of York, so the Centre for Agricultural Products, Novel Agricultural Products, Manchester University, so their Advanced Manufacturing and Materials Science group, and also Leeds University on Material Science and Life Cycle Assessment, and Cranfield University on fibre spinning. So here we're taking lab-proven biotechnology to transform bio-based waste-derived feedstocks. So that's post-consumer textiles, so particularly cotton. So cotton is a cellulosic textile, as is tencel. Crop residues, so we're specifically focusing on the cellulose from wheat straw, and the biological fraction of municipal solid waste, and to process those into renewable polymers, fibers, and flexible textile materials. So we'll be innovating advanced manufacturing techniques that link this biorefining of organic waste and 3D weaving, robotics, and additive manufacturing to circular design to produce flexible and continuous textiles and 3-dimensional textile forms for apparel products. And we really see these advances in manufacturing to enable manufacturing hubs to be located on the high street and in local communities. And this will support SME apparel brands and retailers to offer on-site and on-demand manufacture of products for local customization. Next slide, please. So this is our second research strand, our circular supply chain. So this is led by Cambridge University, the Institute for Manufacturing, Professor Steve Evans, in collaboration with the RCA's a Centre for Computer Science. So here we're designing a transparent supply chain for these textiles through industrial symbiosis. So industrial symbiosis is methods to manage the interactions between the multiple stakeholders in this kind of loop. So between waste management, farming, biorefinery, textile production, SME apparel brands, as well as consumers. So, our computer science group will be working with Cambridge to look at IT tools that will enable transparency of this supply chain. And then also we're designing, as I mentioned before, a kind of a biomaterials platform so that the apparel brands can access this supply chain through this platform. It's kind of like a materials selector, if you like. And they can also, through this material platform, they can access data on the provenance, the properties, the circularity, and the lifestyle extension strategies of these materials. Next slide, please. So finally, our third research strand is consumer experience. As I said, central to our approach is to enable consumers to be agents of change by engaging them in new cultures of consumption. So we want to create a coupling between human well-being and the resource flow. So I think that also central to sustainability is decoupling economic development and human well-being from the use of material resources. So we want to create a new coupling through thinking about, through understanding, doing a deep dive in the human condition to understand human well-being and concepts of satisfaction, and use that as a design strategy to design new consumer experiences and services around apparel products. So we're going to be working with SME apparel brands, and we will develop what's called a configurator, and novel, effective, and creative technologies to engage consumers in digitally immersive experiences and services that amplify couplings between the resource flow, human well-being and satisfaction in order to promote a new culture of consumption. And this dematerialization approach will necessitate innovation in business models that add value to the apparel in order to counter overproduction. So consumers will become key nodes in the circular value chain and enabling responsible and personalized engagement. So this is also a highly interdisciplinary research strand. So we're working with psychology, social science, cognitive neuroscience, and sensory science at University College London to really understand kind of the human condition and to work out ways that we can design some interesting kind of service experiences around products that are related to configuration and customization, as well as the use phase. So final slide, please. So this is, hopefully this plays. So this is just, as I said, that we really see these innovations in supply chain design and the biomaterials platform and manufacturing techniques as enabling kind of designed and made in the UK, and thinking about manufacturing on the high street and really helping to the creative industries, the apparel fashion communities in thinking about more localized manufacturing. And this business related. So in fact, we're working, the Wandsworth Council has kindly signed up to our centre as a partner to help us to explore some of those possibilities, as well as the RSA, so the Royal Society for the Encouragement of Arts, Manufactures and Commerce. So this is something that we're really keen to do, and we're also very keen to develop more partnerships. We have a range of partnerships that cover the whole supply, the whole kind of system design. So we have partnerships on the biorefining side, the farming community, the waste community, manufacturing, as well as SME apparel brands. And so we're always looking for new partnerships to really help us enact our vision, because we really, we are a design-driven project, and we're not just doing, this is not a theoretical exercise, this is designing and building and testing things with people. So we're really very keen to engage with various partnerships. So please do contact me if you're interested. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sharon. That's that's an amazing insight into some really cutting edge research. So thank you very much. We've now got a question and answer session, and there have been quite a few questions coming through on the chat. So we'll get through a couple of those maybe. First thing, I wanted to address some people have been asking about food waste and bins and recycling in Wandsworth. So we did have a waste and recycling session yesterday. We covered an awful lot of that there, and I would invite you to watch the recording when that goes up, and that will give you an incredible insight into all the things that we're doing in Wandsworth around that. On food waste, we are going to be introducing a food trial soon, so that is going to be happening. I don't know when that is, unfortunately, but we are going to be introducing that. And we have introduced twin bins for parks. So we've introduced bins where you can have both waste and recycling. So I hope that helps. We've had a few questions coming in from Theo Adamson. So Theo, I don't know if you'd like to put your video on and unmute yourself and ask a couple of questions to the panel.
Yes. Could you let me know which question you're referring to?
So you're asking about stuff around small businesses and creating jobs.
Yes, I'm really interested in the possibility. I have 2 grandsons just coming into the workforce now, and obviously jobs are going to be hard to find for many young people, as well as older people who are losing their jobs because of COVID. So I'm interested to know whether small businesses may be supported to be set up, employing numbers of people who may be able to help with repair, recycling, etc. I was particularly thinking of repair in this case, because obviously when I was younger, there was a television repair shop on every corner. There were all sorts of things that were going on in that respect, and they've gradually fallen away. It's something I feel that the council would do well to support in terms of business rates relief and that kind of thing. There will be a lot of empty properties as well around, so I'm assuming that this is something that could help support the community in terms of jobs, as well as the circular economy in terms of recycling, repairing, etc.
Thank you very much for that. So in terms of sort of what the council is going to be doing, we are conscious that that there's been a big impact on the economy from COVID, and that there's a lot of work that needs to be done to help support communities. So we launched a smart growth strategy back in July, and part of that was around sort of looking at high streets and how we can use empty space there. So we are looking into that. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet, because we're still very much in the middle of the pandemic, and we're not sure what the impact's going to be long term on high streets, but that is something we're thinking about. And we are also thinking about the green economy. There was an announcement by the government yesterday, the 10-point plan that the Prime Minister outlined. So we're certainly going to be looking very closely at that over the next couple of weeks to see what the opportunities are to link in with that, and to think about green skills and developing those. Doug, if you want to come in.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for your question. I think just to add to that, there is a lot of activity already happening in the sort of sharing and repair sort of culture in cafes. And I saw another question from Nicola Grant about repair cafes. I can put it in the chat room, or maybe to Andrew later. There is some organisations. One is called the Library of Things, which is very active in the community already, and they're actually on our books as the businesses. One of the businesses we support is the idea that you can go in and you can borrow or lease a drill or some piece of equipment, and also sort of repair cafes. And the Restart project is another one that is very active in this space. And they've actually got a repair cafe event tonight in Belfast. So if you were to just Google the Restart project and participate, you might have a chance to log into that to see how they operate. But there are activities already happening there that people can tap into and try to either access funding or access those services locally. And I would also add that there are some funds that are coming out from the Mayor of London as well around regeneration, resilience funding as well. They are very aware, the Mayor's very aware around this need to sort of kickstart the local economy again, and sort of repair and resilience are sort of intricately linked to some of those themes as well. But it is sort of coming out on a sort of drip-fed basis at the moment.
Yeah, I'm very aware of those kind of projects, but what I'm interested in now is how the council is going to support these projects in the future, and I'll be watching quite carefully to see what they are, how they're doing that, because I think it's fine, you know, these small self-starting charities, small projects, etc., and they are growing, and I know, and all that's important. But I think we need a lot of central support in the borough for this kind of thing.
Great. Graham? I think you've got your hand up if you wanted to come in on the stuff around jobs.
Hi, sorry, yeah. I was just going to reiterate some of the points that Doug have raised. You know, it's too early for us to say exactly you know, what money's coming forward, and it isn't. But I have to say that the projects like ours are getting traction and interest from the high streets team at the GLA, and we are getting a lot of interest from central teams at the GLA through the recovery plan that the Mayor is leading for London, and green skills and green jobs is a key part of that. And obviously, because our main base of operation is in Wandsworth and in South East London, you know, we will be looking very, very carefully at opportunities to grow retail presence and reuse presence in the borough and the surrounding areas, because it just makes logistics much easier for us, and we know there's a local need.
Great, thank you, Graham. Ali, you also had your hand up if you want to come in at all.
Yes, I just wanted to add that today there's been an announcement from the Mayor's office of £10 million worth of Green New Deal funding, some of which has been allocated to supporting businesses in the circular economy, and that will inevitably include some businesses that are going to be doing repair and reuse propositions. I mean, that's obviously London-wide, but hopefully some of that will end up coming to your part of London. Businesses and inevitably jobs. I mean, it's difficult to quantify what the jobs impact is going to be, but we're receiving a little bit of that funding to channel it through to small businesses doing this kind of work, and hopefully it will result in more jobs at a local level doing this kind of thing. So yeah, that's been announced today.
Thanks, Ali. So there's a lot of stuff moving, and so I think what we're going to be doing as the council is keeping an eye on that and seeing where the opportunities are, and then trying to get the funding in where we can. So we had a question from Karen Painter. So Karen, if you want to ask your question about jewellery, I think Sharon may be able to provide an answer, hopefully.
Hello.
Hi. Yes, we can.
Hi. Yeah, it wasn't really a question. It was just that I looked into to listen to the circular economy just to understand it. I support quite a few individual makers, and I wanted to sort of educate myself on the circular economy and how it can be applied to jewellery. And I'm in the fine jewellery industry, so obviously we've got the advantage in that sterling silver and gold can be recycled. So yeah, it was just really to sort of educate myself, really, rather than ask a specific question. But if anybody has any knowledge in that area, I'd be really interested to hear.
Thank you very much for that, Karen. Sharon, I don't know if what you're doing in your research centre covers jewellery at all, or whether that's another area that's not there.
No, I think we're not focused. We're not focused on jewellery. I'm sorry. I can find out if there is anyone. I mean, we do have jewellery at the RCA, and I could find out if anyone's working in that area. But it's not something I know about. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
So we've got a hand up from the audience. Somebody called Circular Economy, helpfully. So if you want to ask a question.
Is that me?
Yes, you're speaking now.
Oh, hi. Yeah, sorry, Vicky Diamond.
Right.
I don't know how that happened. That came through a circular economy, but anyway, I was just curious with lockdown and everything, and the upcycling centre of the upcycling part of Smuggler's Way. When I was last there, it was seemingly being used for absolutely everything that wasn't being recycled. So I didn't know whether or not, because the charity shops were shut, people were using it as a place to take everything from children's toys and books to games and all sorts of equipment we saw. Is that an issue for Smuggler's Way, or is that something that they can deal with until the charity shops reopen again?
And then I can try that. Yeah.
Sharon?
Yeah, hi, sorry. Just to remind you, I'm from West Riverside Waste Authority, so we run the Household Waste and Recycling Centre. To be honest, it's always an issue because people's perception of what's reusable varies across the board. So we get a lot of stuff there that isn't really reusable, and we actually pass it on for either recycling or, unfortunately, it has to go into the waste stream. But a lot of toys that are in good condition are passed on through rework. Yeah, and other items that they can actually pass on, but obviously they have to have an outlet to do that. But yes, we can cope with it. It's not an issue.
Yeah, and just to add to that, if you have noticed any short-term problems with COVID and the restrictions on services, then yeah, that as I said earlier in the presentation, Rework has looked to find other outlets for our goods over the time, because you're right, some of the charity shops have had to close during the restrictions, and on a few occasions, unfortunately, we have had to have some staff not in work through their own vulnerabilities or self-isolation. So you might have experienced a couple of short-term drops in our ability to cope, but we're back on top of it. And as Sharon says, yes, people should keep bringing their reusable products into the reuse areas, and we'll ensure that the maximum volume of them go to other reusers.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Graham. One of the questions that came through was from Nicola Grant, asking about grants available to set up a repair cafe. So Wandsworth does have the Wandsworth Local Fund, which people can bid into for specific projects to seek funding. And we are looking for more climate change related projects. So if you do have an idea, if you do have a proposal, then have a look on our website and look for the Wandsworth Local Fund. And there is funding that's potentially available. I can't remember off the top of my head when the next round of funding opens up, but certainly do look at that. And if you've got a brilliant idea that you think could get funding, then please do apply. So I think we have time for one more quick question, if there's anything else. Does anyone else have a question? Please put your hand up if you do. Yes. Circular Economy, sorry, I can't remember your name.
Oh, hi, it's me again. Sorry, it's a question about the cellulose-based materials, I suppose, to the Royal College of Art. How does one consider going up against places like Primark when there are obviously a vast number of the population who are happy of buying cheap throwaway clothing, whereas cellulose-based materials is going to be more expensive and more durable? How does one factor that into the process?
Well, we want to create a new coupling. So we want to decouple the high volume of use or volume of use of material resources by creating a new value for the product around other things to do with services and experiences that you gain, for example, at the place of purchase. We also think that I think that the pandemic has focused people's minds a great deal about, and to make a link between our consumption patterns and the damage that has been done to the environment. So we think that we're really going to capture a kind of hopefully a new wave of consciousness around consumption patterns. But yes, this is part of the research challenge. I don't know whether we're going to be successful, but this is what we want to challenge through our research. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sharon. I think we're going to need to bring the meeting to a close there, but thank you very much, everyone, for joining. I hope it's been an interesting session, and I hope it's sparked some thoughts in your minds about the circular economy, what it means, and what you can do as residents, and how you can play your part in it as well. And I'd like to thank all the presenters for coming along and giving up their time to share their experience and share their knowledge with everybody here. And I really do appreciate that. So thank you very much, everyone, and please do enjoy your day. Also, to let you know, there's more sessions going on in the Wandsworth Climate Summit. We've got another one at lunchtime. And then we've got one in the evening as well. So the one at lunchtime is about open spaces and greener open spaces, and the one in the evening is about is unfortunately fully booked. But we do have a Wandsworth business focused one tomorrow, which if you're interested in, please do go along and look at that. So thank you very much, and please enjoy your day.